Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rutuja and the next topic we will be covering is Power Query. So now let's dive more into it. So the Power Query in Excel is a powerful data connection, transformation and preparation tool that allows the users to import the data from various sources, then clean it and reshape it and afterwards load it into Excel for the analysis or reporting. So the Power Query in Excel is a practical tool that closely mirrors with the ETL process. So now let's see how it relates to the ETL process. So ETL stands for extract, transform and load, and it is a fundamental process that is used for data integration or data warehousing and data analytics. So the ETL process in Excel Power Query involves like extracting the data from various sources, then transforming it into a user-friendly interface to like clean it or standardize it or reshape it according to the specific needs. And afterwards, it allows us to load the transformed data back into Excel for the analysis or reporting. So now let's dig in more into it. So the first one is extract, and the objective of extract is to gather the data from various sources. So the Power Query allows you to connect to the wide variety of data sources such as like Excel file or CSV file, databases like SQL Server or Oracle, or online services like SharePoint, Salesforce, and so on. So it allows us and enables us to extract the data from these various sources directly into Excel without needing it to import or export the files manually. So the next one is the transform. So the objective of transform is basically to clean the data or format it or reshape it to meet the specific requirements. So the transformation stage is where Power Query comes into scenario. It offers a wide range of tools to clean the data or manipulate the data, such as like removing the duplicates, filtering rows, renaming the columns, changing the data types, and creating the calculated columns. So you can also merge or append the data from multiple sources or pivot or unpivot the tables and also perform more complex transformations using custom formulas or the M language. So the next one is the load process, and the objective of load is to load the transformed data back into the final destination for the analysis or the reporting. So after the data has been transformed, Power Query allows you to load it back to the Excel, and you can choose to load it into either like worksheet or a pivot table or directly into the Excel data, which is a Power Pivot. So now let's jump into the practical part. So now we have the sales data of XYZ company for the month of January, February, and March. And we need to analyze the sales data of this respective company for all these 3 months. And we need to perform some transformations on it. And then afterwards, we need to analyze and give insights to the business depending upon these 3 months sales data for that company. First, we will check how to load that data from that folder. So for that, go to data, get data from file, and I'll select from folder. So I'll select that respective folder and I'll click on open. So once you will click on open, all the Excel sheets present into that folder, it will get shown over here. So right now we have 3 months sales data present into that folder. So it is by default showing that files over here. So we have the options to combine that data or load that data. So what happens is like once you will click on combine, it will just combine the data back to back, like for example February data, then the January data, and then the March data. But over here, after combining that data, we need to perform some transformations onto that. So we will need to clean that data, we will need to modify that data so that it will be readable for the business users and to the data analysts, so that they will be able to give insights for that data. So what we will do is like we will click on combine and then we will hit combine and transform data. So once you will click on that, it will apply query on all these three Excel sheets. So by default in these sample files, it will take February sales data as the first file and the next file. So if you want to change that option, so you can select the file whichever you want to select as the first file. So right now I'll go with the first file as the February sales data only. Once you will click on data, it will by default show all the data which is present into all those Excel sheets, and then you can click on OK. So once you will click on OK, it will take some time to load the Power Query. So it will now show the Power Query editor, and by default it has combined all the data, like firstly February data, then the January, and afterwards the March data. So the second option which we have is like we can load the data either from CSV file or text file. So for that, go to data, get data from file, and over here I have the option from text or CSV. So right now I have text data over here. So for example, I'll select one text file here and I'll click on import. Once you will click on import, it will give you one pop-up in which you will get the preview of all the data which you have right now. So right now the delimiter they have given by default is the tab. So so it is showing giving us the correct preview. So I'll not change that. So in the type detection, it has selected only first 200 rows. So you have the option to select the entire data set also. So I'll click on based on entire data set, and I need to transform also this data. So I'll click on transform data, and it will take some time to open the Power Query editor. So once it will get open into this, so you can see that the data which you were having into your text text file, it is getting shown into your Excel file properly, and it has the delimiter of tab over here. The third option is to load the data from Excel file. So I'll go to the get data from file and I'll select the first option from Excel workbook. So in here I'll select the Excel file which I want to load and transform. I'll click on import. So once you will click on import, it will show you it will show you the navigator where you can see the preview of your data, and I'll click on transform data. So once you will click on transform data, it will by default open the Power Query editor, and over there you will get all the data and you can now perform the transformation onto this data. So the top menus, which are file, home, transform, add column, and view, this is nothing but the ribbon. And the ribbon is our primary navigation hub in Power Query Editor, which provides quick access to all the transformation tools and the query settings. So we have left sidebar, which is nothing but a query pane, and it allows us to manage the multiple queries, providing an overview and quick access to different data transformations. So the central pane, which is nothing but a data preview, and this data preview pane is crucial for visualizing the impact of each of our transformation steps, which makes sure that our data looks the way which we want before loading it into the Excel. So we have right sidebar also, which is nothing but the query settings, and it is essential for tracking and managing each step into our data transformation process. And this ability is to see each applied steps helps us to troubleshoot and fine tune our queries. So now let's start with the data cleaning and transformation process. So we can see that first 5 rows over here are of no use for us. So we will try to remove those 5 rows. So I'll go to home, then remove rows, and I'll select on top rows. So first 5 top rows, I don't want it. So I'll give number of rows equal to 5. Click on OK. So now all those redundant rows are removed now. So what I can say is like we have column names over here, but those are as a row one, those are present in row one. So what we need to do is like we need to shift these column names upward. So what I'll do is like I'll go to home and I'll use first as row headers. So once I'll click, then it will give me proper column names for that respective columns over here. So next is like if we can see the first column, which is nothing but the row number, which I feel is like redundant right now and it is of no use. So what I can do is like I'll select that respective column and I'll click on remove columns and then again remove columns. So that redundant column is gone now. So now we have data starting from first name and then the last name and so on. Select the product ID column, and now I want to split this column into 2 columns. So what I'll do is like I'll go to home and then split column. So I want to split this column by delimiter. So once I'll hit delimiter, then it will give me the option of like which delimiter you want to set. So right now I have dash as a delimiter. So what I'll do is like I'll select the custom and it will by default give me that option over here. So we have 3 options split at as like leftmost delimiter or the rightmost delimiter or each occurrence of the delimiter. So what I'll do is like I'll select leftmost delimiter. I'll check the advanced options. So split into columns, that's what we want. I'll click on OK. So once you will click on OK, it will give you 2 columns, product ID 1 and 2, but those are like split those are split into two columns, like first one is of PL and then the next one is of that respective ID. So what I want is like I just don't want this first ID one column, so I'll just remove that column. So now we have product ID 2, but this name convention is inconvenient. So what I'll do is like I'll just change this name to product ID number. Okay, so now we have the data. The next one is like we will check all the data types of all the columns. So you can check the data type, you can just select or click on that particular data type of that respective column. Once you will click on that, it will by default show you all the data types which are present in the Power Query. Or the second option is like once you will go to transform, we have the option of data type in that section and it will show you data types over here also. So what I'll do is like I'll check all the data types for all the columns. So the first name with data name, data type text is fine. Last name with the text is also fine. Product ID is getting shown properly with the whole number. The product is getting shown with the text. Price with the number. Sold with the number. Those are getting shown properly. So now we have this option of price per unit, units sold, and the total cost. These are nothing but the current. These are nothing but the values which needs to get shown into currency. So what we will do is like we will change this from whole number to the currency. So once you will click on currency, it will give you the proper format. Same goes for the units sold. Sorry, it will not go for the unit sold, it will go for the total cost. Again, I'll change it to the currency. Purchase date and shipping date, that is getting shown properly with date options, the date data type. Okay, so now we have all the data with that respective and correct data types right now. Let's suppose if I want to add one more column with the index. So what I can do is like I can go to add column and I have the option of index column here, which can start either from 0 and 1, or you have the option of custom also over here, so that you can give us you can give starting index and how much increment you want to increase that index. So right now what I'll do is like I'll select the index column starting from 1. So it will add the columns which with this index 1. So I'll drag this column as a first column and I'll change the name to the column index. So now we have added one column with the index over here. Next option is for the merged columns. So let's suppose I want customer's full name into one column. So what we can do is like we can merge first name and last name column. So if I want to display the customer full name, I want first name and then the last name. So first I'll select the column which I want to have first in that merged column and the next column. Then afterwards I'll go to transform and I have the option of merged columns here. So it will give you the options of separator. So I want to separate these two columns into one merged column by space, and I will give the new column name as customer name and I'll click on OK. So it will give me one new column with the customer name here. Now let's see how to add custom columns here. So we have price per unit and units sold columns here. So now we will try to generate revenue for each of the customers. So what we can do is like we will add custom column first. So I'll go to add columns and then I have the option of custom column here. So what I'll have is like I'll have new column with the name revenue and I'll try to apply formula here. So what I'll do is like I'll select the column which I want from the available columns on the right hand side. So we have price per unit and we need to do price per unit into units sold so that we will be able to get revenue. Then I'll have multiplication with the units sold. So now I have formula generated and it is showing that we have no syntax error for the formula which we have created, and then click on OK. So now it is showing us revenue for each of the customer. So this is the custom column which we added by applying the formula. So now let's change the revenue data type to currency. Okay, so now we have our new custom column created for the revenue, which is equal to price per unit into units sold. So now let's check profit or loss for that respective customer. So what I'll have is like, first I'll change this name from revenue to total revenue. So now what we will do is like, we will check profit, either profit or loss by total revenue minus total cost. So first I'll select total revenue column because I want to minus that cost from the revenue. So I'll select the revenue and then I'll select the total cost. I'll go to add columns and then standards. So in standards, I'll select subtract because I want to subtract these respective costs from the revenue. Once I'll click on subtract, it will give me new column with the subtraction. So I'll just change this name from subtraction to either profit or loss. So now we have that respective profit, either profit or the loss which that particular customer has in the new column right now. So now suppose we want to check the days in between purchase date and shipping date. So what we can do is like, first we will select shipping date and then the purchase date. I'll go to the add columns. Once I'll go to the add columns, we have the option of date. So in this option, we have subtract days here. So this column will give us the difference between what was the purchasing date of that customer, and after that when we were able to ship that particular product to that customer. So this will give us the days gap so that we can check like which product took lot of time to get shipped for that respective customer, and which one was shipped quickly to that customer. So let's suppose we will change this naming convention to days gap so that we will be able to analyze like how much gap was there into the shipment from the purchasing date to the shipment date. Now let's see how to add conditional column. You will get that option under add column. So once you will click on conditional column, it will give you one pop-up here. So I want to I want to apply conditions or profit and loss column. So I'll give the column name as suppose profit or loss status. So what I'll do is like, if the profit or loss is suppose less than 0, then I want to show that option output as loss one. I want to add one more clause into it, so it will give you else if statement. So again, I'll select the profit and loss. If it is equal to 0, then it will give me the output as no profit, no loss. And I'll add one more else if statement here, where I'll show that if that value is greater than 0, then let's show the status as profit. So I have added all the clauses here, and then I'll click on OK. Now it will give me the respective status of that profit or loss for the convenience. Next option is for the replace values. So right now we have product names here. So suppose we have triple dex product name here and we want to change it or replace it with the triple only. So what we can do is like, go to the transform. We have replace values option here. We'll go to replace values. As I have selected that respective product name here, it is getting shown here by default. So whatever product values with the triple dex we have in this Excel sheet, so I want to change it with the triple only. So we will check advanced options here. So match entire cell contents and then the replace using special characters. So I'll just select match entire cell contents and I'll click on OK. So over here right now we can see that we have whatever triple dex product name which we were having, it is replaced with the triple product name now. Now let's see how to add the columns from example. So we have shipping date column here. So let's suppose what we will do is like, okay, so what we will do is like, if that month is 02, then we want to display that month name as February. Or suppose if we are selecting purchase date as example, so if that purchase date month is 01, then we need to display that month name as January. So I'll select that respective column. We have the option of column from examples. So we have the option from all columns or from selection. So right now I just want to have this option, or have this example with only purchase date. So it's just for the selection. So I'll select from selection option. So what I'll do is like, if the purchase date is 01, then what I'll do is like, I need to display it with the January. So I just entered J and it is showing me January option, because it has by default guessed it as like, I want to edit that respective month name from that purchase date. So I'll just select that. So try to add it again for the next date also, and select. So once I'll select, and then I'll click on OK. So it will take, it is trying to add that names here. So now we can see like, we have purchase name, sorry, month name here as January, and this is how you can add the column from examples. Let's suppose by mistake I have changed the data type from text to currency. So now what is it showing like? It is giving me error. So if if I want to revert that step, so simply what you can do is like in applied steps, you have that advantage that each and every action which you are taking in this Excel sheet, in this Power Query editor, it gets recorded under the applied steps. So simply what you can do is like, as you have changed the data type, that got added as change type 4, which has given us the error. So what you can do is like, simply click on cross button here. So once you will click on cross button, it will revert that step, and you will by default get back to the previous step which you have right now. So you have the option of like moving that respective step somewhere where you want. So if you want to have this step here next to a second last step, then you have that option and you can change that also. So right now I'll just go to the original step, and this is how our output was. So now we are done with our data cleaning and transformation process. So what we will do is like, we will try to load this transform data into our Excel sheet again. So first what I'll do is like, I'll just change the name from data to some convenient name. So for example, I'll give overall sales data for XYZ company. So I have changed the name and it got reflected over here in the about top panel also. So now what I can do to load this data, go to the file and I'll select close and load to. Once you will click close and load to, it will give me the option or pop-up like how you want to load the data, is like either as a table or pivot table report, or you have the option of creating data connection also. So right now I'll just simply click on table. I'll select into existing work. It will give you option like, if either you want new worksheet or the existing worksheet. I'll just simply select like, okay, I want it into the existing worksheet only. And I'll click on add this to the data model also and click on OK. So it will take some time to load the data. Okay, so now we have our table, transformed table here with that respective changed name. And on the right hand side, it is giving us the queries and connections also. So if I'll click on that query, so it will take me back again into Power Query editor. And suppose if you want to have or add any another transformation, then you can simply add that step here, and then again you can click on close and load. So right now I have this transform table here, which I was expecting. So now with this table, I can have my pivot charts here, and I can show that graphical representations to the business or the stakeholders, so that it will be easier for them to understand in the form of visualizations, rather than showing them this whole data which is of no use, or it doesn't make any sense to them, as it is millions of data and into the tabular format. So it is always preferred to show the visual representations to them. So you can create here pivot charts, and from that pivot charts you can create dashboard also, and like whichever convenient form which you want to have for that visualizations, you can have that and you can represent it in front of the business. In this way you can use the Power Query editor to extract, transform and load data. So if you like my tutorial, please like and subscribe so that I can create more such kind of tutorials for you guys. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.